Breaking news out of the NFL. As the 2025 season approaches, all eyes are locked on the rookies. But not all rookies are under the same spotlight. Some are being thrown straight into the fire, and they better deliver. Which young talents are carrying the weight of entire franchises on their shoulders from day one? We've got the answers, and they might just surprise you. Stay locked in, because what comes next could change how you see the 2025 season forever. As the countdown to the 2025 NFL season accelerates, with rookie report day just 4 days away, the pressure is building. Not for the veterans, not for the coaches, but for the rookies who have no time to settle in. The spotlight is blazing hot, and for 3 particular players, there's no room for error. But before we break down who's under the most pressure this year, hey football fans, before diving into the latest NFL updates, do us a quick favor, subscribe to the channel, smash that like button, and don't forget to hit the bell icon so you never miss a beat during this electric 2025 season. Let's jump into the headlines. Jamari Caldwell, defensive line, a third-round pick who's stepping into a major role, and fast. He might not have been the flashiest edge rusher at Oregon, but the expectations around Caldwell in LA are far from light. After the departure of key defensive pieces, Caldwell has inherited a job that demands production now. This isn't about potential anymore, it's about performance. The Chargers' defense will be tested early and often, and Caldwell is expected to make his presence felt right out of the gate. Description of the player: why there's high pressure, possibly referencing their draft pick status, team situation, or how they're replacing a key veteran. Description of the player: why there's high pressure, possibly referencing their draft pick status, team situation, or how they're replacing a key veteran. Why Jamari Caldwell is under massive pressure in year one. Let's be clear. Jamari Caldwell isn't here to put up sack numbers or chase quarterbacks all over the field. That's not his game. That's not why the Chargers drafted him. What Caldwell does is something far less glamorous, but absolutely critical. He plugs holes, anchors the trenches, and creates chaos at the line of scrimmage so others can shine. And right now, this defense desperately needs someone who can do exactly that. He's the kind of defensive lineman who might not light up the highlight reels, but he forces double teams, swallows up space, and creates room for linebackers and edge rushers to attack. He's the engine that lets the rest of the defense hit full speed. Sure, he showed flashes as a pass rusher at Houston, but in this scheme, his value lies in disruption, not glory. Now here's where the pressure hits. Last year, Poona Ford quietly played a major role in holding down the middle of this defense. He's gone, and Caldwell's not just filling his shoes, he's expected to raise the bar. The moment the ball snaps, Caldwell will be asked to absorb hits, stop short yardage runs, and collapse pockets early. Why is this so crucial? Because when this team gave up over 130 rushing yards in a game last season, they went 1-4. They were gashed by the Ravens for over 200 yards. They were dominated by the Texans in the playoffs, 168 on the ground. Even the Buccaneers ran wild. Only exception? Tennessee. And that one barely slid into the win column. So, let's cut through it. If Caldwell can't anchor the interior, it won't just be about poor run defense. It'll be about games lost, playoffs missed, pressure rising. He's 6'2", 340 pounds of raw force, a true wall in the middle. And if he lives up to that weight, to that power, to that role, this defense could take a massive leap. But if he can't hold the line, that entire front seven risks collapsing. And the losses will pile up just like they did last season. The expectations are clear. Jamari Caldwell doesn't have time to grow into his role. He has to own it from week one. Why the spotlight is burning bright on Jamari Caldwell? The numbers don't lie, and they don't leave much room for excuses either. The Chargers gave up over 120 yards per game on the ground last season. That might not sound like a crisis on paper, but in critical moments, it broke them. Short yardage plays became automatic conversions. First downs came far too easy. Opponents bled the clock and dictated tempo. It was death by 5-yard runs. That's where Jamari Caldwell comes in. This isn't just about filling a position. It's about fixing a problem that's haunted the Chargers' defense for seasons. Caldwell's job isn't flashy. He won't lead the team in tackles. He probably won't rack up sacks, but his impact, It might be the difference between a top 10 defense and a unit that collapses when it matters most. At 6'2", 340 pounds, Caldwell is built like a wall, and that's exactly what he needs to be. Stop those 4-yard runs and cut them down to 2. Don't let 2nd and 6 become 3rd and short. Force offenses into longer third downs and allow the pass rush to go hunting. This isn't a hope. It's a need. Caldwell comes into the league with a strong resume, 3 straight seasons with a puff run defense grade above 81, including an 83.2 peak at Oregon. That level of consistency, it's rare. And it's exactly what this team needs replicated in the pros. To be fair, Poona Ford, the man Caldwell replaces, set a high bar. His 2024 season ended with an 85.1 overall grade, one of the top-rated defensive tackles in football. Run defense? He posted a 78.8, sixth best in the league. That's not just good. That's elite. Caldwell won't be asked to mirror Ford's performance overnight, but he will be asked to make an immediate dent in the one stat that matters most: yards allowed on the ground, because if that number doesn't drop, the Chargers will keep losing games they should win. So yes, the pressure is on, and Jamari Caldwell stands at the center of it all. He's not just being counted on to hold the line. He's being counted on to change it. Why all eyes are on Amarian Hampton in 2025. If Jamari Caldwell is the engine under the hood, Amarian Hampton is the gas pedal, and this offense is about to hit the highway. Let's wrap up Caldwell's role with one final point. If he can simply match the level he showed at Oregon, that 82 to 83% run-stop consistency, this defensive line takes a leap. 18 run stops in a single season isn't a fluke. That's disruption, plain and simple. If Caldwell holds the line, this team could realistically cut its rushing yards allowed to just over 100 per game, a massive improvement. But now, let's shift gears, because the pressure doesn't stop on defense. On offense, there's a different kind of expectation building, and it's aimed directly at Amarian Hampton. He may not be the first-name fans expected under the microscope, but make no mistake, this rookie running back is stepping into the spotlight fast. First-round picks aren't allowed to ease in. They're expected to explode. And with Hampton, the potential is sky high. Here's the thing. Najee Harris still has juice. He's physical, dependable, a classic workhorse who can churn out yards in ugly situations. But this isn't about replacing Najee. It's about complementing him. Think of it like this. Najee is the hammer. Hampton? He's the spark. It's that classic thunder and lightning setup we've seen thrive in recent years. Think Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins in their prime. And in this system, Hampton's acceleration, vision, and burst make him the one who can flip a 6-yard gain into a 60-yard breakaway. Now, with an offensive line that's looking far more complete than last year, especially after the addition of my Beck at right guard, Hampton is walking into a situation built for production. Last season, this offense was too predictable, running strong side more often than not. But now, balance is back. Whether it's off the left edge or downhill behind the right guard, there's confidence across the front. And don't overlook Jolt. He's set for a breakout year in run blocking, giving Hampton even more reason to hit those lanes with force. Let's not sugarcoat it. The Chargers need a 1,000-yard rusher, and while Najee might carry the early down load, Amarian Hampton has the tools to become the breakout star. The moment he hits the field, expectations won't be whispered, they'll be shouted. Because in 2025, Hampton isn't being asked to learn, he's being asked to lead. The silent thunder, Amarian Hampton's time is now. Let's talk reality. The Chargers haven't seen a 1,000-yard rusher since 2018, a drought that's lasted far too long for a franchise that once thrived on punishing ground attacks. But in 2025, not only could that dry spell end, it might happen twice. Yes, there's a legitimate chance Amarian Hampton and Najee Harris could both crack the 1,000-yard mark. That would be a statement, not just about the run game, but about balance, toughness, and offensive identity. And while Najee will still handle the heavy lifting, short yardage scrums, and goal line brawls, Hampton brings something else entirely: explosiveness, violence, relentless forward motion. He's not just quick, he's hard to stop. In fact, he might be one of the hardest players in this entire draft class to bring down. You don't need simulations or projections to see that. Just look at the tape. Or better yet, the numbers. At North Carolina, Hampton racked up over 1,600 rushing yards last season. But what's even more impressive is how he got them. He gained 2,294 yards after contact. That's not just high, that's elite. It means you can hit him once, maybe twice, and he's still falling forward for another 5. He wasn't just surviving defenses, he was breaking them apart. Let's stack this up. 92.3 run grade, top 6 in college football, 3,160 total rushing yards since 2023, second best across the nation, 140 missed tackles forced, nearly unmatched, 79 explosive runs. Proof he's a home run hitter on any carry. This isn't just a running back. This is a problem for defenses. And the best part? His style fits this offense like a glove. Physical, brutal, built for contact, but explosive enough to flip field position in one play. That's exactly the kind of attitude Coach Harbaugh wants on the field. Someone who embraces the hit and keeps coming. So, while Hampton may be slotted as the second most pressured rookie on this roster, his ceiling might be the highest. All signs point toward a breakout year, not just as a complementary piece, but as a future face of this offense. And now, with the O-line reshaped and play calling expected to lean heavily into the run, the spotlight is firmly on him. It's go time. Trey Harris, built for the long game, not the panic button. Let's slow the hype machine for a second, not stop it, just slow it. There's been a lot of talk about Trey Harris, the flashy second rounder who lit it up at Ole Miss. And rightfully so. The talent's there. The hands are strong. The frame is built for Sundays. But let's not get ahead of ourselves with expectations that scream instant savior. This team doesn't need Trey Harris to be Superman in week 1. Let's be honest, the wide receiver room isn't empty. It's just evolving. You've got Quentin Johnston, who's entering what feels like a career-defining year. Yes, the hands were shaky last season. The playoffs were forgettable. But he's still a guy with rare physical tools. And this year, there's every reason to believe we're going to see the version of Johnson the Chargers drafted in the first round. Then there's Mike Williams, the steady vet who knows the league, knows his body, and knows how to mentor. He's been through the highs and lows. If there's a guy Trey Harris can learn from, it's him. And let's not forget Ladd McConkey, a technician in cleats. His breakout didn't happen right out the gate either. It took a few weeks. But once he settled in, he made noise, serious noise. That's the mold Harris might follow. And that's okay, because development takes time. Greatness takes shape slowly. And Harris isn't just a piece for 2025, he's part of the long-term picture. A future running mate to McConkey, a weapon for Herbert, a guy who can stretch the field or eat up a tough third down. But it doesn't have to all happen right away. Let's be real, there were even whispers out of early camp that Harris came in a bit behind on conditioning. But that's not unusual. Rookies adjust. Bodies adapt. The speed of the game hits hard at first. What matters is where he ends this season, not where he begins. What we do know is this. Trey Harris dominated at Ole Miss. Even in a limited number of games, he was a nightmare for secondaries. Precise routes, physical presence, big catch radius. A player who made his quarterback better every time he lined up. Now he's paired with Justin Herbert, one of the best arms in the league. That's a connection waiting to explode when the time is right. So no, he's not under the same pressure as others on this roster. Not yet. But his ceiling, it's real. And when he's ready, he's going to turn heads. He just needs space to grow and a little patience from the fanbase. Because when Trey Harris finds his rhythm, this receiving core might just be one of the most quietly dangerous units in the league. Trey Harris. Show up when it matters most. Here's the thing about Trey Harris. The numbers speak, but the story behind them? That's where things get interesting. Let's rewind to his college track record. In 2022, back at Louisiana Tech, he hauled in 65 catches for 935 yards and 10 touchdowns, averaging over 14 yards a grab. That's a chain mover with burst. That's a deep threat with consistency. Then, in 2023, at Ole Miss, he dialed it up again. 985 yards on just 54 catches. Think about that. Fewer catches, more yardage. That's efficiency. That's trust in his ability to create space and hit the big one. But here's where the plot turns. 2024 was a shortened season. 8 games. Still managed 130 yards per game on 60 catches. 7 touchdowns. And still, a healthy 17.2 yards per reception. This wasn't a fluke. This was a pattern. Trey Harris makes things happen when the ball comes his way. So why wasn't he talked about as a top-tier receiver heading into the draft? One word: injuries. That's where this coaching staff is taking a measured approach. They're not rushing him into action. They're making sure his body is right. They know they've got something special, but they also know potential means nothing if it's not healthy in December. Now let's be clear. I'm not saying he needs to be a 1,000-yard receiver tomorrow. I'm not asking for a breakout by week 2. But when the lights come on, when it's 3rd and 8 in the 4th quarter, that's where Harris has to rise. That's the moment that defines his place in this offense. Because in the playoff game versus Houston, Ladd McConkey carried the load. Triple coverage, bracket coverage. He still went off, but no one else stepped up. That can't happen again. If Ladd draws the double teams, someone else has to win their one-on-ones. That someone? It needs to be Trey Harris. He's got the size, the vertical game, the red zone instincts. He just needs to deliver when the margin for error vanishes. Those final drives, tight red zone sets, third downs that decide the narrative. I'm placing him as #3 on the pressure list, not because he's a weak link, far from it. It's because his role is coming. Maybe not today, maybe not right out the gate, but when it's his turn to make a mark, he has to make it stick. This team can't survive on one reliable wideout in high-leverage moments. We need a duo, and Harris has the tools to be the second punch. Bottom line, he doesn't need to be flashy every snap. He needs to be clutch when it counts. If he can do that, this offense becomes a whole different animal. So that's my top 3: Jamari Caldwell, Amarian Hampton, and Trey Harris. All for different reasons. All under very different types of pressure. But each one could tilt the outcome of this season.